All right. So we're doing this now. Okay. Now it's happening. So guys, I just want to start off with saying that, as I was saying earlier to you guys, Wise Wellness is an initiative that we're bringing to you for women in showbiz everywhere that will emphasize on the mental well-being of women in show business. And I recently met with Ektha at one of our events, and she introduced us and said, "This is who we are, and we're into the mental health space." And I don't know if a lot of you know, but I'm a filmmaker, and I had done my first feature on mental health. Honestly, it was made in 2020 on a family road trip. I think I told you about it, like that. But anyway, so I've kind of and I did a little bit of a talk show while making that movie, because I started to understand that, because what this protagonist goes through and his suicidal thoughts. And I thought there were so many deaths all around during the 2020 and those bodies piling up. And all I could think about is how it is when you lose a loved one or a dear one. And then I went into the depths of suicide and how it could be prevented. And so, I started a little bit of a talk show on Lady with a Hat Productions, which is my production company. And yeah, so I spoke to a lot of people, and we're just trying to destigmatize the whole thing and just make it more normal to talk. So I'm glad you're doing this. And I'm glad you came up to me, Ektha. And yeah, we're happy to kickstart our campaign with you and Shakti. So why don't you start with telling us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Such a pleasure to be here, Venetia. And I'll start by just
The pleasure is ours.
the entertainment industry has been so deeply supportive in helping all of us understand what mental health is from a very personal experience. Because when we see something, we are able to recognize it in ourselves. And I know, especially like COVID, like blasted that off in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for all those who don't know me, my name is Ektha Agrawal. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Shakti Therapy and Healing Services. We are a holistic therapy group practice out here in Los Angeles and support all folks in California, and actually also have a small wing that specializes in entertainment mental health, because that is a whole very unique chapter that I'm very excited to get into with you.
Go hand in hand, right? Because like I was mentioning to us earlier, the pressures, the struggles, there are a lot throughout the industry, but I don't know, entertainment is just another level, and you have to have another kind of a thick skin to, really conquer this space and this place. So I'm happy you're going to share with our audience today and some of the tips that, they could use and imbibe in their everyday lives. Right. And we're also excited because not just it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but it's also Oppie Month. And we're going to be joined by one of my friends, Ramona Young. And she was in Never Have I Ever. She's done amazing things. She's a brilliant actress. She was in a recent movie of a friend, Maureen Barucha's movie, The Prank. And she was co-starring with Rita Moreno there. To that.
Yeah. And I'll personally add, for folks who don't know what Oppie is, it's Asian American Pacific Islander Month. And that's been expanded even to add our Native American folks and Hawaiian folks.
Yes.
So it's becoming even more and more inclusive, and those acronyms are growing.
They are. And I'm happy about it. Sometimes I get lost in it, honestly, but I'm happy it's growing. I love the inclusivity and the diversity.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I can't remember it all, honestly. I'm just happy to be a world citizen. That's all, and I hope that people are. So anyways, let me just start by asking you a couple of things, Ektha. For women working in showbiz who might be struggling with mental health, what advice or guidance would you offer to them to prioritize that mental well-being of theirs?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I will say just a lot of Asian American women and women in general in entertainment, it's not an easy battle. Historically, entertainment has been a male-dominated industry, and now we're starting to see a lot more women, a lot more Asian Americans.
Right, yeah.
And with that comes the the immigrant story, what that comes intergenerational trauma. And historically, a lot of these women are taught and grown up to hide their trauma behind the mask of silence. And this silence is the guard that's supposed to protect you.
Yeah.
And in as many ways that it does, it doesn't. It leaves a lot of people feeling isolated and alone. And something that I've learned in my journey is healing doesn't thrive in solitude. We've been conditioned to believe that, right? It's deal with it on your own. Don't tell anyone. You've got this. You've got the grind, grind in silence. I mean, yeah. And those are heavy curtains for us to kind of lift on our own. And it just roots in shame and really fosters that.
Yeah.
So when you ask like, hey, what are some things that people can do to manage some of these challenges? The first thing that I just really love to say is expression. And it comes in so many forms. It's not
so
always
underrated, right?
It's so simple.
And
right.
It's so simple. We tell our kids all the time, express yourselves, be more clear with your emotions so we can understand, and we don't apply that to ourselves.
Yeah. And what people forget is expression is so diverse. It's not only being vulnerable with your words, but for women especially, it's moving their bodies. Our unconscious mind is 80%, and that's in our bodies. So I'm a huge living room dancer, and nobody knows this about me. But when I'm stressed, when I'm anxious, I blast music and I just dance. And
good for you. I love it. I used to do garage dancing back in the in 2020 when we had lockdown.
A great song, yeah. But it's a great way, right, to express yourself. There's
definitely
for folks in entertainment, their right brain is the right brain is the most active, and this is the creative brain. And so they need to be able to have outlets to express that's not professional. So that could be art, poetry, dancing, yoga, whatever that may be for you. That's one tip. Another one, I'm a big fan of biohacking, so I always try to plug a biohack tip for mental health. Red light therapy. It's so easy. Living in LA, we love the sun, and clearly there's no sun today. So we've seen an increase in the last
baby.
The
June gloom.
Yeah. And we've seen an increase in seasonal affective disorder, which essentially is depression that happens without the sun for us. So I have a red light therapy. You can get it on Amazon. You throw it on. The best part is people think it's only for pain and inflammation, which inflammation is
red light therapy, honestly.
And so it's this infrared therapy that has these certain frequencies of red light that shine on you. Oh. And it helps with anxiety and depression. And the way that it does this is, I'm going to get technical for 1 second, is it increases the mitochondrial function in our neurons. And these things are responsible for cell health and energy production. So when you're feeling down on a gloomy day, that red light can blast energy. And when you have energy and your cell health as well, things like imposter syndrome starts to decrease. Things like the noise in your head that you can't do this starts to decrease. So it has a lot of mental health benefits, and it's easy to do. You can put it on at night while you're sleeping. You can put it on during the day, whatever.
That's interesting.
I'll give me a
term I never even heard of.
Yeah, it's so great. And
it seems easy.
The third one, you've heard this many times. We've probably overkilled it, and I'm still going to push on it. Yeah. It's gratitude.
Gratitude.
People, gratitude.
The good old gratitude.
Yes. And people don't realize that you cannot be grateful and anxious at the same time. Our nervous system doesn't work like that. So if you can truly just hand on heart, get into that state of gratitude and ask yourself, even in this stress, even in this uncertainty, what's going right? What is happening in my life that I am so grateful for? And once you're in that state, then you can ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What is this anxiety trying to tell me? The imposter syndrome. And you begin to realize, gosh, every emotion, every part in your body is working for you, not against you. And they have these messages that are actually going to propel you further. But we live in survivor mode and we're just about distraction, ignoring those messages, thinking of them as bad feelings.
True. Let this, but thank you for these tips. Your podcast. Okay. What I want to do is get Ramona on too. So I think this is amazing for everyone to listen to, and why not have Ramona benefit as well? Yeah. Let me bring her on. Here we go. I don't think I'm doing this bad for the first time, honestly.
You did fantastic.
There you are.
Hi, Ektha. That's good advice. Hi, good to see you, Venetia. It's so good that
I see you joined earlier, so you kind of were following us anyway. That's great.
I was listening, and I'm like, this is really nice that we're focusing on women and mental health and the entertainment industry, everything that I'm a part of.
Exactly.
So it's great.
Exactly. And that's the void that I felt like I just felt we didn't have that hub, that community where we can actually openly talk. And, this community is not just for celebrating and amplifying one another or supporting one another, but it's also for your mental well-being. So just to have that moral support and that community that that sometimes you can't go to your family or even your best friend, because they don't relate. They're not a part of the industry. But here you have a group of women who are part of the industry who can say, well, I felt this. Oh my God, I relate to that. So it's a very industry specific, and that's really interesting that that Ektha's coming on and bringing her knowledge to us and giving that to us, and we could spread it. And you are going to help amplify and influence others as well. So this is a really great team I feel that we have here, and so good to see you after our podcast here, Ramona, and. You're perfect, because you're this emerging star of tomorrow, and you've done such amazing work, and we would love our community to get to know you. And also you have parents with 2 PhDs. You just told me yesterday in psychology. So I thought, yeah, right. So, but that's an awesome thing, right? I'm just saying that. Well, coming from your background, then your Chinese Asian background, let's start with that, because with your parents being in psychology and PhDs in psych, did you find any reluctance to express yourself at home or feel like you had to pent up some of those feelings? Because I know Asians do that. We're all Asian here. We tend to do that a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to know, is it still comfortable in your house, or do you still feel like you have to hide some of that?
Yeah, it's it's so nuanced, and I'm sure you guys understand, I know my parents really separated their academics to the way they parented. But I relate to a lot of what Ektha was saying about having to stay silent, especially as a woman. I don't know about what it was like in your household, but growing up, when we had meals and stuff, and we if the kids started talking, we would have to finish our meals standing up. That was our so it's not
Asians and their discipline, right? It's so much discipline.
That is so funny. I wonder if that is a universal Asian thing, because we were told to finish our meals standing up too.
Right. I have no idea, because we just that was kind of our punishment. So it's hard to be vulnerable. I think the benefit of it was easier for my parents to talk about someone else's problems, meaning my problems or someone else's problems, but it was hard for them to still, I think, be vulnerable themselves,
Mm-hmm.
So
That's the problem.
it's very nuanced and complicated.
Interesting that even with the education, the intergenerational trauma and the intergenerational conditioning of being quiet and not expressing yourself is so rooted, right? Like they have the knowledge in psychology that express yourself, be vulnerable, yet it's difficult to practice.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah, honestly, it is. Yeah. It's hard to talk about your feelings. It's hard to put yourself out there, make yourself vulnerable, even to your friends, even to your close friends, even to your mom and dad. Sometimes I feel like, I mean, I keep telling my almost teen daughter that, you could talk to me about everything and anything. And she's going, yeah, really?
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, maybe not everything. But, because I still want to be a parent, to her. And I don't want to be this bestie that there has to be a discipline. There has to be some kind of parenting, or, she's never going to take me seriously. I feel, I don't know. Like, am I doing the right thing?
No, I do think there's like a lot of parents are moving into this trying to be the best friend instead of a parent. And I really think a parent has to be a parent to really help a child develop appropriate attachment. You're doing the right thing. You get to be the best friend when she's grown up and, you have that connection. But right now you're a parent.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm on the right track. I'm just trying to navigate it, but yeah, we have some other questions that we would like to ask. Ektha, I remember you had one. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I am a big fan of rituals and just trying to implement little breaks to get through the day. I have a ritual for everything. And one of my favorite things is in the morning to step out, close my eyes, and just let the sun soak into me. I feel like I'm in another world when that happens. Yes. So a question for you is, being in entertainment, being a woman, being Asian American, what is a ritual or a daily practice that you just love to do that connects you back to who you are, that grounds you?
That's a really good question. And I have a couple, and it really depends on like what I need to be refilled. There is the power of prayer, the power of journaling, the power of getting a massage and sitting in a hot bathtub. Like there's so many depending on like, I think what I need and what I'm looking for. But yeah, there's so many. I do a lot of like jujitsu, so I like to like, get my pent up like energy or my depression out that way as well. So
Ramona, I'm a Muay Thai practitioner. So we'll have to go one day in the ring.
Yeah, we'll go to each other's classes, and I'll try some Muay Thai and you can try some Jiu-Jitsu.
And see, this is how the world's connected through skills and hobbies and all of that too.
What about you? What are some of your rituals? What are your go-tos?
Well, a good walk in the morning. I think for me, I'm a nature person, and sometimes I'm just lost too, just like other people. But for me, I get my grounding every day, and I get very cranky when I don't go on my walk in the morning. I need to connect. I talk to trees. I talk to mountains. I talk to birds. I talk to everything that's living. And that's my prayer. I put on, in Indian households, we have something called bhajans, which are these morning, spiritual music. I have that going on in the house, and that's the tone for the morning. And I want my kids to imbibe that. And, my mom always says, whatever you can do in the morning kind of stays with you through the rest of the day. And so, right. That's why they say, don't pick up your phones in the morning. Don't do any of that. Do your yoga, do your meditation, be in the zone, focus on yourself and your well-being. Honestly, I struggle to get into meditation mode. I want to start that. I really do. But life is just so fast, right? And it's just, I feel like, oh, this time is gone. That time is gone. I mean, should I sleep a little longer or should I do the meditation? I literally sleep about 5 or 6 hours a night. I know it's not enough. I can't sleep longer than that. I don't know what it is.
You need some sleep.
Yeah. I need sleep. I need hours.
I know. Oh, I'm overworked. And also, I don't know why I can't sleep. Recently, my mom gave me these things called the Calm Magnesium. think, I don't know if they're any good, but I haven't even started on that. I'm like, wait, do I need that to like level up my melatonin or something? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah,
it might also be stress, right? And anxiety. And when you lay your head just keeps going, right? So that's hard.
the whole day is so packed, right? And I feel like if I try to get some moment for myself, and I try to find that in my early mornings or in my walks, or when the kids are gone to bed. But then again, I find myself opening up the laptop and I'm working till late, and that's what I'm doing, you know? So yeah, I definitely need some stress buster, uh, self-care tips. But yeah, let's also talk about, some of the challenges maybe that, relate to mental health, specifically in the showbiz industry. Like Ramona, I know you could relate. We have these long working hours. My hours also never ends. I mean, now I'm a filmmaker and I run an organization, so it's a lot. How do you navigate it? How do you balance it?
I
You
don't know.
You don't. Yeah, you don't. You just live by the moment every day, right? One step at a time.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Ektha.
No, I was actually just going to add on to Venetia's, like, how would you manage like imposter syndrome as part of that? Right. I imagine that's so real for so many.
Why don't you tell us, Ektha, what the imposter syndrome is? Because obviously Mona and I know, but why don't you tell our people, our folks, what that is?
Yeah, imposter syndrome in my belief is really this sensation and feeling that you're not good enough, you won't make it, you don't have the skills and talent, despite the actual fact that you do, right? And so you may be already an actor or an actress, but there's a part of you that feels like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of my accomplishments. And there's always the sense of, this person's better, this person can do it better than I can, and I don't have what it takes.
It's rooted in self-esteem, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say like I don't have those thoughts, because I absolutely do constantly. But I think I'm like, what I try to do to personally battle that is when I feel it. Like, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I know my perception of myself is inaccurate. And Ektha, you're probably familiar with like cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're like, it's not black or white. If someone forgets to say hi to you, it doesn't mean that they hate you. Like it could be like a million other things. Yeah. And so I try not to just like trust that voice and just be like, okay, these thoughts are coming up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Like, I'm going to trust someone else's opinion as well. And it's not just like me thinking I'm not good enough and that's completely accurate, because it's probably not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. So we're wired to have 20 negative thoughts for one positive. Really? So kudos on you for not listening to that junk in our head that keeps going.
That's one thing I'm really strong with, though. I don't let negativity enter. I just don't. I could be going through the worst time, but the one thing I am very strong at about is I don't let any of that garbage enter me. I'm very, very strong.
Wow.
Capable that way.
How do you block that, Venetia? That's amazing.
I just do. I've always been like that. And I just felt like, there was a time where I was actually depressed in my early 20s. And it was for about a year when I was, going from I was in pre-law, and to change that and then going to the industry, the entertainment industry that I knew nothing about, and the pressures and the pain and all the struggles initially that you go through. So, but I don't know. I've never been, that was the moment. And after that, when I got out of it and I knocked myself out of it, never sought help for it. And again, that's a very Asian thing too, like an Indian thing. We just don't, we could suffer internally in silence. We never go out and seek help. That is a big, big issue. And honestly, people saw me around. They never even told me to do it, because they're all Asian too.
Mm-hmm.
No one's doing it. And that's that. No one said, go see somebody.
Yeah.
And maybe I would have. because I was vulnerable at that time. I would have listened, but I didn't. And no one told me, and I found my own way. And I was blessed to have a spiritual guru guide me. And so that was everything. And I think that positivity is what radiates in my work and in my life. And that's how I balance things. Through my guru's guidance, I lived a very, internally blissful life. Though whatever happens externally, you just have to see and say, well, that's life, right? And that's all part of it. Like my brother's, 14-year-old dog passed yesterday, and that is so traumatic, for someone who's had to live with a pet for 14 years. And so, I just feel like there's so much of that all around. There's so much stress all around, and there's these happenings of life. But, what do? We have to seek these moments, right? These small moments that we have to take time out for ourselves to balance our head and say, well, that is life and that is going to go on. But it can't enter here. You have your own, your own mission, your own direction. And I don't know, that's what I tell myself, and I just stay positive. It just works with me. I think it's by the moments that I live it. And, that I think that's my guru's blessing on it. Yeah.
I really love that you are seeing life as it's not happening to you, but it's happening for you, and you're letting it move through you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I like to go with the flow of things. And, sometimes there's been such stressful moments. And my husband's like, how do you do it? Like, how are you so positive? I'm like, I just don't let it get to me. You can't let it enter. And you just have to be strong about it. Your mind and your heart is not a garbage can. That's what my guru says, right? Like, don't put crap in it.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to find. So, and another thing I heard the other day was, from Michelle Obama, the wise woman, where she said, you have to practice what you want to be. And I love that, where you have to practice, if you're going to be this, riled up teenager, then that's what you're going to be. So practice being something else.
Yeah. That's rooted so deeply in psychology. It's all about avatars. How do you show up with this version of you that you're trying to be? And in that, over time, you become that person.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
Pretty magical.
Well, Ramona should relate to that. She's got parents and who are, PhDs in psych. So I'm sure she sees a lot of that at home, right, Ramona?
I don't know about that. I mean, ideally.
Ideally.
I think practicing something that you want to be versus like what you come from in your environment is so difficult. It's like it takes conscious effort. It's like, running up a hill or something. But I'm definitely, aware of some of the attributes that I want to like gain. And so I'm in the practicing mode right now as well.
Good. Yeah. Good for you.
Ramona.
So we're on the right,
I've seen
the right track.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Ramona, I have a question for you. As a Asian American woman in a household that values education, how did you break through and move into the entertainment industry?
Oh gosh, a lot of it was pretty volatile actually. I think my parents, rightfully so, were super concerned for me. They were like, at least go into teaching, like don't like at least be an accountant.
That's so Asian. Yeah.
At least
if you're not going to be a doctor, at least do this. Yeah.
At least go into computer.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I'm gonna wait tables, and we kind of like fell out of communication even for like a long time. I think secretly my parents wanted me to do what I want, but at the same time they felt like they had to do the parenting thing and talk me out of it. So at least that's what I want to believe. And so it didn't come easily. But then I think after like years of them seeing like, oh, she's still going at it, she's not quitting. Eventually I think I kind of gained their favor a little bit, and now they're really supportive, actually. So
That's great. That's great. I love when parents support, their children's dreams, and we're all from, this la la land that we're in, so we need that support so much more from them, and that's why we add them in our speeches, because they have to put up with us. All our eccentricities and, our stubbornness that brings us to this industry, honestly, because if you're not those things, you're not going to survive here. You're just not going to.
And I love that perspective that, gosh, they really wanted this for you. And sounds like they were scared. And so they were like, this is the only way we know is to parent her in this way. But it's coming from a place of love and not knowing.
Ramona, do you find like we don't have the tools and the resources in this industry? Like when we want to talk about our mental health, we don't have the support. Do you think, artists and other professionals, how do you think we can improve that in our industry?
It's so hard because everyone has their own unique journey to making it, like everyone's journey in this industry is so different.
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing now, which is creating community and making friends that we can talk to and relate to about it, is like one of the best things we can do.
Yeah.
What
sure.
You guys,
everything.
I love that. I think sisterhood is so important for women to thrive in it. And that's all community. And when you can express yourself, be who you are with a group of women, with a group of people, it's magical. We're not meant to do anything alone. We're creatures of socialization. And so we rise by lifting each other. And I deeply believe that philosophy.
Yeah. I love this. Women empowering women, and I feel like, and I keep saying that an empowered woman empowers world. Right. And so that is what, we're half the world's population, yet we're still talking about women's rights and struggling with, education and free education and things like that. And, female infanticide and God knows what else that we need to put up with in this world. But yeah, those are our challenges, unfortunately. And we have to be there for one another in this sisterhood, in this communityhood, and as a world citizen, I keep saying, So yes, let us talk about a couple other things that I wanted to get into. Ramona, do you have to go or anything?
I
just taking up all your stuff.
Fully am so glad you asked, because I didn't want to be rude, but I kind of do.
I know. I feel like we went over time, and you know what? We are gonna come back to this next Thursday too. So if you're free, you could join us then as well. But yes, I know. You go. Thank you for joining us. It was wonderful to have you.
Can I ask a closing thing for you to leave us with, Ramona?
Yes, of course.
What is a quote, a saying, or something that's just very dear to you that you just anchor yourself in? And I'd love for all of us to anchor into that.
Oh, such an easy question that I have right in my back.
A good sign off then.
I don't think I have a quote that I go to, but I'll say this. Like I was in therapy, and like I am in therapy currently, and a lot of times like I've been feeling like going through like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, and my therapist, who's amazing, she's like, instead of like avoiding like these yucky feelings, like I would really like open it up and ask why and look into it and like really be like, what is the reason you feel sad, versus just, oh, I'm sad and I don't want to feel this and let me get rid of it. It's just like, listen to what that means and really go into it. And I'll just reiterate, like, I wouldn't have learned that if it weren't for the power of community. And I know our industry is so competitive sometimes that it's like hard to let people in. But, find your people and just find your friends and have that community.
I love that.
Yeah.
Find your people. That's right.
Thank you so much. Wonderful question. Thank you. And it's so great meeting you, Ektha and Venetia. It's always so amazing seeing you. And I'll see
Likewise. Yes, we'll catch up.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
That was fun. It's so good to like have our industry people and women especially come out and talk about what they're doing. And I love that she said that she's in therapy now. Right. And there's absolutely no shame in that anymore. And it shouldn't be. We're in 2024. We have so many reasons why we should be in therapy.
Absolutely. And now there's so many practices like Shakti therapy that are holistic and they cater to Asian Americans and are in language. So you don't have to go to a place where you're starting from scratch and trying to help the therapist understand who you are, what your culture is. That I love that it's becoming more and more normalized and safe, emotionally safe.
Yeah. It is. And at the same time, it isn't. So people are becoming more aware of it, but are they seeking it? I don't know if are they actively being, going or meditating or going to these things. I'm not sure.
I will say I hear a lot of people talk about having a therapist like it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And my therapist said this and it just makes me chuckle a little bit.
And I hate that. Like it's just a fad. I mean, seriously, to treat your well-being.
Yeah.
So superficially, it's just, I don't know. But the world is getting more superficial, I think, by the day, honestly. Isn't it?
And so, Venetia, I'm curious, what is like a quote, an intention, or something that you ground in? I would love to hear from you about that too.
A quote, I don't know. But I just, like I say, I mean, I live my life very by the moment, and it's just what I go by. It's always been my go-to, like what am I focused on right now? And then I have a big picture. I have a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year goal too. But, am I going to go crazy if I don't achieve it? I mean, really, I'm not that immature, to think that life doesn't happen in between of all your plans.
Right.
And it does. You have to give room for life to happen. At the same time, have your goals, have your plans. No one said don't have them, but when things don't go your way, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit in a corner? I mean, I don't think so. So yeah, that's when we should seek help, right? And I love what Shakti stands for. You have to tell other people about that acronym. It's so amazing. I was reading that.
Yeah.
Tell our people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I use Shakti as an intervention when I'm having a hard day. S stands for sense your emotions. Just try to understand, very similar to what Ramona was saying. What is the emotion saying to you? Recognize where it is for you physically, emotionally, in your body.
Yeah.
H, it's honor your feelings. We don't do this often because we think God
feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is really creating a space where there's no judgment for any emotion.
Right.
And A, analyze the cause. When we start to analyze what the emotion is, why it came forward, we're starting to get a little hint on what's triggering it and how to address it. Mm-hmm. And that nicely leads into K. Know your options. What are all the options that you can take? A lot of times we're so impulsive and we take the first option versus like trying to understand all the ones that exist. And then that flows really nicely into T, take action. So once you know your options, pick the best one for you and your emotions, and just move forward and trust that you're moving in the right direction.
Trust your gut, right?
Yeah.
And your instincts that come from within.
Yeah. The last one's my favorite. It's integrate. So this happens the next day, the next week, where you look back and you think about what did you learn? What was the takeaway there? And that starts to create behavior change, thought pattern change, and it shifts the person eventually.
Wow, I love that. I think that's so powerful. Shakti to us Indians is everything, right? I love it. I love that you've called your healing practice that. And yeah, so I think this was a really good, wonderful first IG Live session. And we're starting to introduce now mental well-being to women in entertainment and beyond. And I'm so happy to partner up with Shakti and also Jiva Mental Health, which is your other baby. Do you want to talk about that a little bit before we sign off?
Sure. I'll briefly put a plug in. Jiva Mental Health is a South Asian mental health nonprofit. And we are just trying to create healthier cultures, not only through therapy and support groups, but we host these elaborate, beautiful events where people are coming together. They're wearing their outfits that make them feel good. And they're hearing these real life stories from people where vulnerability is at the forefront. And that just gives all of us permission to express our own stories, to begin to feel safe. And it doesn't end there, right? If we're walking away with that heaviness, it's hard to come back. And so we celebrate resilience. So there's a lot of dancing and a lot of movement and laughter. And so it's just a gamut of emotions that we go through to be able to go back into our own authentic self.
Great. I have to remember to add that in our retreat.
Yeah.
A little movement and rhythm never hurt anybody or the body.
Absolutely.
So that's great. Yeah. So we look forward to setting up that wellness retreat a few times a year. And I wanted to tell everybody that we're going to set that up and, watch our space and follow us on whytheline.org. Follow us on our IG. And you will get to hear it. I think August is what we're aiming, and I'm happy to have Shakti join us there and help us with some rituals and sessions. That would be amazing. So yeah, watch this space for more. And thank you everybody who's joined our live today. This was our first IG live. I don't think we did bad at all. And I hope our audience, our people, our community was able to pick up some of these tips that you and Ramona and everybody shared today.
Thank you so much, Venetia, for having me. And I'm excited to dig even deeper next Thursday at 10:30 with you.
Yes, me too. Can't wait. All right, you guys. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, Ektha.
Bye.
God.